The morning started like any other on New Haven Colony. Children walked to school under the artificial sunlight of the dome. Workers headed to their jobs in the mines and farms. No one knew that today would change the course of human history. Commander, Alan Wright sat at his desk in the Colony Control Center. He sipped his coffee and looked over the night reports. New Haven was the largest of the 5 outer colonies with 8,000 people. The colony sat on a rocky planet rich in rare minerals. These minerals were why Earth had spent so much money to build here. "Sir, we're getting some strange readings," said Officer Paul Clark. He pointed to his screen. Alan walked over and looked at the display. Several objects had appeared at the edge of their sensor range. They were moving fast toward the colony. "Run the identification program," Alan ordered. Paul tapped his screen. "No match in our database, sir. They're not human ships." Alan's stomach tightened. Humanity had met 3 alien species so far. All meetings had been peaceful. But these ships weren't sending any greeting signals. "Sound the alert, level 2, Alan said. Level 2 meant possible danger but not an evacuation. The calm voice of the colony AI spoke through the speakers. "Attention all citizens. Unknown vessels approaching. Please complete your current tasks and return to your living quarters." Alan opened a channel to Earth. The message would take 6 hours to reach home. "This is Commander Alan Wright of New Haven Colony. We have unknown vessels approaching. No hostile action yet, but they are not responding to hails. We'll update as situation develops." He had just sent the message when Officer Clark shouted, "Energy spike! The ships are charging weapons." Alan didn't hesitate. "Level 1 alert! Everyone to the shelters now." The calm AI voice changed to an urgent tone. "Emergency! All citizens to shelter areas immediately. This is not a drill." Alan watched the main screen as the alien ships entered orbit. They were sleek, with strange blue lights along their hulls. Nothing like the ships of the known alien species. "Sir, I'm getting readings on the other colonies too. Esperanza, Liberty, Point Horizon and Tranquility all report unknown ships in their space," Paul said, his voice shaking. Alan grabbed the communication terminal again. "New message to Earth. Unknown aliens positioning above all 5 outer colonies. Appear hostile. Requesting immediate." The first blast hit the colony's shield. The lights flickered. The shield was designed to protect against meteors and radiation, not weapons. "Shield at 60%, Paul yelled. Alan knew they wouldn't survive this. The colonies had minimal defenses. They were research and mining outposts, not military bases. "Send all data to Earth. Everything we have on these ships," Alan ordered. He opened the emergency channel to all 5 colonies. "This is Commander Wright. All colonies, transmit everything you can about the attackers to Earth before." The second blast broke through the shield. The control center shook. A wall panel exploded, throwing Paul across the room. Alan helped his officer up. "Get to the shelter." Paul was bleeding from his head. "What about you, sir?" "I need to make sure the data gets through. Go." As Paul stumbled out, Alan turned back to his console. The colony's main dome was cracking. Air was beginning to leak. People screamed as they ran for the emergency shelters. But Alan knew the truth. The shelters wouldn't withstand what was coming. He typed quickly, adding one final message to the data package. "They came without warning. May God help us all." Alan sent the message just as the third blast hit. The ceiling collapsed around him. His last thoughts were of his wife back on Earth and their unborn child he would never meet. Thousands of miles away, Navy Lieutenant Samantha Green walked along Virginia Beach. She was enjoying her week of leave after 6 months in space. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. It was probably her brother asking about dinner plans. But when she looked at the screen, it wasn't her brother. It was an emergency alert from Naval Command. All personnel returned to base immediately. Samantha ran to her car. The radio turned on automatically. The news announcer's voice was tense. "We interrupt this program with breaking news. Reports are coming in of an attack on the outer colonies. Details are limited, but military sources confirm that all 5 settlements have been hit by unknown forces. She gripped the steering wheel tighter. Her cousin lived on Esperanza with his family. At the naval base, chaos greeted her. Officers rushed in all directions. Admiral Joe Harris stood in the command center, his face grim as he watched the screens showing the incoming data from the colonies. "What happened, sir?" Samantha asked as she joined him. "An alien species we've never seen before. They hit all 5 colonies at once. No warning, no demands." He pointed to a screen showing grainy images of strange ships. By the time we got the distress calls, it was already over. "Survivors?" Samantha asked, dreading the answer. Admiral Harris shook his head. "The colonies are gone, all 30,000 people. The aliens sent only one message after the attack." He tapped a screen, and an alien voice spoke through a translator. "These territories now belong to the hegemony. Further expansion will meet similar resistance." Samantha felt sick. "Who are they?" "They call themselves the Alteran hegemony. We've never had contact with them before." Another officer rushed in with a tablet. "Sir, the president is calling. An emergency session, and Project Dragonfire has been mentioned." The admiral's face went pale. "Are they serious? That's our last resort option." "What's Project Dragonfire?" Samantha asked. Admiral Harris looked at her for a long moment. "Something we hoped we'd never need to use. Something that will change everything." He handed her a folder with a red border. "You've just been reassigned, Lieutenant. Report to Rocky Mountain Complex immediately." As Samantha read her new orders, a cold feeling settled in her stomach. The document mentioned specialized deterrent activation and extinction-level response protocols. Whatever Project Dragonfire was, humanity had just moved beyond diplomacy. The aliens had attacked without warning, killing thousands of innocent people. Now Earth would respond, and based on the fear in Admiral Harris's eyes, that response would be terrible to behold. Deep under the Rocky Mountains, General Kevin Russell walked through steel doors that opened with a soft hiss. His face showed no emotion, but his hands were tight fists at his sides. He had just come from a meeting with the president. The decision had been made. The underground base was the most secret place on Earth. Only 40 people knew it existed. Even fewer knew what was inside. Dr. Olivia Peters met him at the final checkpoint. She had dark circles under her eyes. She hadn't slept since the news of the colony attacks reached Earth 3 days ago. "Is it true?" she asked. "Are we really going to wake them?" Kevin nodded once. "The president signed the order an hour ago. Protocol Omega is active." Olivia closed her eyes for a moment. "I always hoped this day would never come." "We all did," Kevin said. "But they killed 30,000 civilians without warning. They left us no choice." They walked together down a long hallway. The lights turned on automatically as they moved. At the end was a large metal door with no handle or keypad. Instead, there was a small screen. Kevin placed his hand on the screen. "General Kevin Russell. Authorization, Dragon's Tooth." Olivia did the same. "Dr. Olivia Peters. Authorization, Dragon's Flame." The door slid open. Inside was a large round room with 7 glass walls. Behind each wall was darkness. Kevin walked to a control panel in the center of the room. "Computer, activate Protocol Omega." A soft female voice replied, "Protocol Omega requires confirmation from civilian leadership." Kevin took out a small device and placed it on the panel. The president's voice played, "This is President Edward Hunt. The Alteran hegemony has committed an act of war against humanity. I hereby authorize Protocol Omega. May God have mercy on their souls." The computer was silent for a moment. Then, "Protocol Omega authorized. Activating Dragonfire units." Lights came on behind the glass walls. In each section was a ship. Not small ships like fighters, but not huge like colony vessels either. They were sleek and black, with no visible windows. Each one was shaped slightly differently from the others, but all had the same predatory look. "How long until they're ready?" Kevin asked. Olivia checked a screen. "The ships are powering up now. Crews will be woken from cryo-sleep in 30 minutes. They'll need a few hours to get their bearings, then briefing time." She did the math in her head. "The Dragons can launch in 10 hours. Kevin nodded. "And the weapons?" "Fully operational." Olivia's voice was quiet. "Each ship carries enough firepower to destroy a small moon." In the first glass section, the largest ship began to glow with a soft blue light. Words appeared on its side as the lights passed over the hull. "Balerion. The Black Dread," Kevin said. "Named after a dragon from old stories." "All 7 are named after legendary dragons," Olivia said. "Balerion, Vermithor, Cyrax, Caraxes, Melees, Sea Smoke, and Dreamfire." The other 6 ships began to glow as well, each with a different colored light: red, green, gold, purple, silver, and white. A door at the side of the room opened. A man in a black uniform walked in. His hair was cut short, and his eyes were hard. Colonel Frank Martinez had been in cryo-sleep for 5 years, waiting for this day. "General Russell," Frank said, his voice rough from disuse. "Project Dragonfire is active?" Kevin nodded. "The Alterans attacked our colonies without warning. 30,000 dead." Frank showed no reaction. He and his crews had been chosen for their ability to stay calm in any situation. "My orders?" "Simple," Kevin said. "Show the Alteran hegemony what happens when you attack humanity." "Limitations?" Kevin hesitated. "The president said to use your judgment, but make sure they never want to fight us again." Frank nodded once, then turned to look at the ships. "My crew?" "Being woken now," Olivia said. "All 149 of them." "Good." Frank looked at Balerion, his ship. "We'll be ready to launch in 8 hours, not 10. He walked away without another word, going to prepare for the mission. Kevin watched him go. "Are we doing the right thing?" he asked quietly. Olivia had no answer. She had helped build these ships. She knew what they could do. "They didn't give us any choice," she finally said. In another part of the base, the cryopods opened one by one. Men and women woke from their long sleep. None of them were regular soldiers. Each had been chosen for specific skills and psychological traits. They could make hard decisions without emotion clouding their judgment. Lieutenant Carol Davis opened her eyes and immediately knew something was wrong. The pods were only supposed to open if humanity faced an existential threat. She sat up, pushing away the medical officer who tried to help her. "What happened?" she demanded. "Aliens attacked the outer colonies," the officer said. "Everyone dead. The dragons are being awakened," Carol nodded. She had trained for this, they all had. 5 years ago they had said goodbye to their families and gone into the pods, hoping they would never be needed. In the briefing room, Frank stood before his gathered crews. All wore the same black uniforms with no rank insignia. On Project Dragonfire, skill mattered more than rank. "The Alteran hegemony attacked 5 human colonies 3 days ago," Frank said. "They gave no warning. They made no demands before the attack. After destroying the colonies, they sent one message." He played the recording. "These territories now belong to the hegemony. Further expansion will meet similar resistance." The ID room was silent. No gasps of shock, no angry outbursts, just cold understanding. "Our mission is to ensure the Alterans never attack humans again," Frank continued. "Each ship has its targets. Balerion will take the lead. We launch in 7 hours. Carol raised her hand. "Do we know anything about their military capabilities?" "Limited information," Frank said. "The colonies managed to send some data before they were destroyed. The Alterans have energy weapons more advanced than ours, but their ships appear to rely on conventional engines for movement. They won't be expecting what we have," said Lieutenant Gary Moore, the weapons specialist. Frankie nodded. "Exactly. They think they attacked a relatively peaceful species with limited military technology. They have no idea what's coming." As the crews prepared, Kevin and Olivia watched from a viewing room. On screens around them, they could see the 7 ships beginning to move. Mechanical arms detached fuel lines and power cables. "How many will die?" Olivia asked softly. Kevin didn't pretend to misunderstand. "If the Alterans don't surrender immediately? Millions, possibly billions. And we're okay with that?" Kevin turned to look at her. "They killed 30,000 of our people without warning. They need to learn that humans aren't easy prey." He looked back at the screens. "The dragons will teach them that lesson." 6 hours later, the massive doors at the top of the underground hangar began to open. One by one, the 7 ships rose into the night sky. They made almost no sound. Their engines didn't burn bright like normal rockets. Instead, they glowed softly with strange colors that seemed to bend the light around them. In less than a minute, they were gone, vanished into the stars. Only a few people on Earth even saw them leave. Kevin watched them go. "May God have mercy on the Alterans," he said, "because the dragons won't." The Alteran border outpost hung in space like a metal spider. It had been there for 50 years, watching for any signs of trouble. Nothing interesting ever happened here. It was too far from the center of hegemony space to see any action. Officer Krell was bored as he watched the sensor screens. His scales itched from the dry air in the outpost. He longed for the wet climate of his home world. Just 2 more weeks until his rotation ended. A small light blinked on his screen. He sat up straight. Something was coming. The computer couldn't identify it. That was strange. "Commander," Krell called, "we have unknown objects approaching from human space." Commander Vex moved to Krell's station. He was older, with faded green scales and a scar across his snout from an old battle. "How many?" "7, sir. Moving fast." Vex frowned. The humans weren't supposed to have ships that could reach this far into space so quickly. It had only been 3 days since the colony cleansing operation. Earth was 17 light-years away. "Send the standard warning," Vex ordered. Krell sent the message. "This is Alteran Border Outpost 12. You are entering hegemony space. Identify yourselves immediately or be fired upon." No response came. The 7 objects kept moving forward. "They're not slowing down," Krell said. Vex tapped his claws on the metal console. "Fire a warning shot. Aim in front of the lead ship." The outpost's energy cannon fired a bright beam across the path of the approaching ships. It was a clear message in any language. "Stop or we shoot." The ships didn't stop. Instead, they changed formation. They moved like a flock of birds, spreading out, then coming back together in perfect harmony. It was unlike any flight pattern Vex had ever seen. "Sir, I'm getting strange energy readings from those ships," another officer said. "Nothing like standard human technology." Vex felt a chill run down his spine. "Send an emergency message to Central Command. Tell them we have contact with unknown vessels coming from human space. Request immediate reinforcements." Krell looked up from his screen. "Sir, the computer finally has an identification. They're human ships, but the design isn't in our database." "Show me," Vex ordered. The main screen showed 7 black ships. They had no visible engines, no weapon ports. They looked more like predatory animals than machines. "What are they?" Krell whispered. Vex had no answer. In his 30 years of service, he had never seen ships like these. "Fire on them. Full power." The outpost's cannons fired again, this time aiming directly at the lead ship. The energy beams hit their target and did nothing. The black ship absorbed the blast without slowing down or showing any damage. "Impossible," Vex said. "The cannons could cut through standard ship armor like it was paper." "Sir, they're scanning us," Krell said, his voice rising in panic. "Our systems can't block it. They're downloading everything." Vex hit the emergency alarm. "All personnel to battle stations. This is not a drill." But it was too late. The 7 ships surrounded the outpost. They didn't fire any weapons. They didn't need to. From the lead ship, a signal penetrated the outpost's computers. Every system began to shut down one by one. "They're hacking our life support," an engineer shouted. Vex grabbed the emergency communicator. This message would go to every hegemony world. This is Commander Vex of Border Outpost 12. We are under attack by unknown human vessels. They have technology far beyond what we believed possible. They move like... He struggled to find the right words. Like predators stalking prey. As he finished the message, the lights went out. The backup power failed seconds later. In the darkness, Vex heard the air systems stop. Their atmosphere would last about 6 hours without recycling. "Sir," Krell said in the darkness, "the ships are moving on. They didn't destroy us." "No," Vex said. "They left us alive to deliver a message." He knew the humans could have easily destroyed the outpost. Instead, they chose to let them slowly die as they watched the human ships head toward Alterran space. In the lead ship, Valerian, Colonel Frank Martinez received the report from his systems officer. "Their outpost is disabled," the officer said. "Their distress signals have reached at least 14 hegemony worlds." Frank nodded. "Good. I want them to see us coming." Lieutenant Carol Davis monitored the enemy communications from her station. "They're scrambling ships from 3 nearby systems. Estimated time to intercept is 26 hours. "We'll be past them by then," Frank said. "Set course for Velith Prime." Carol looked up. "Sir, that's their largest colony in this sector. 3 million citizens." "I know." No one on the bridge questioned the decision. They had been chosen for this mission because they could do what needed to be done. "What about the outpost personnel?" asked Lieutenant Gary Moore. "They'll die when their air runs out." Frank considered this. "Send a message to the nearest hegemony world. Tell them exactly where to find their people." He wasn't interested in killing helpless enemies. There was no point to it. As Balerion and its 6 sister ships accelerated toward the heart of Alterran space, the hegemony government called an emergency meeting. The 7 members of the High Command gathered in their circular chamber. "How is this possible?" asked Counselor Ziv, the oldest member. "The humans don't have this technology. Our intelligence was very clear on that." Supreme Leader Mach, the head of the hegemony, tapped his sharp claws on the stone table. "Clearly, our intelligence was wrong." Military Commander Dex brought up a holographic display showing the path of the human ships. "They're heading straight for Velith Prime. If they maintain their current speed, they'll reach it in 24 hours. "Velith has 3 million citizens," said Counselor Trell. "We must evacuate." "Impossible," Dex said. "We don't have enough ships to move that many people in so little time." "Then we must defend it," Mach decided. "Send the home fleet." "All 16 capital ships?" Dex asked, surprised. "And whatever support vessels we can gather," Mach said. "These humans must be taught a lesson about attacking the hegemony." What none of them realized was that the humans were thinking exactly the same thing. 20 hours later, the Alterran home fleet formed a defensive line around Velith Prime. 16 massive warships and 43 smaller vessels arranged in a battle formation that had won them dozens of wars against other species. Admiral Gex stood on the bridge of the flagship, the Invincible. He had served in the military for 40 years and fought in 6 wars. The hegemony had never lost under his command. "The human ships will be here in 4 hours," his second-in-command reported. "All vessels are in position." "Good," Gex said. "When they arrive, give them one chance to surrender. If they refuse, destroy them." On board Balerion, Frank received the report from his sensors officer. The Alterrans have positioned their fleet around the colony. 16 capital ships, 40+ support vessels. Admiral Lisa Jones, the overall commander of the Dragon Fleet, studied the tactical display. "Standard defensive formation, no surprises." "They're sending a message," Carol said from communications. "They're offering to negotiate." Lisa's expression didn't change. "Deploy the moats." Frank gave the order. From each of the 7 dragon ships, tiny panels opened along their hulls. What looked like black dust poured out into space. Billions of microscopic machines, each smaller than a grain of sand. They moved like a cloud, spreading out and then heading toward the Alterran fleet. "Moats deployed," Frank reported. "Time to effect, 30 minutes. Lisa nodded. "Take us in, straight at their center. Make it look like we're planning to ram their flagship." The 7 dragon ships accelerated toward the Alteran fleet. From the outside, it looked like a suicide run. 7 ships against nearly 60. They're powering weapons, Carol reported. Let them fire, Lisa said calmly. It doesn't matter anymore. The Alteran fleet opened fire. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes shot toward the human ships. Some missed, some hit. None did any damage. Admiral Gex couldn't believe what he was seeing. How are they still intact? He demanded. Increase power to all weapons. The Alteran ships fired again. The result was the same. Meanwhile, the invisible cloud of motes reached the first Alteran vessels. The tiny machines attached themselves to the ship's hulls. They began to burrow inside, finding their way to critical systems. On the support ship Relentless, the artificial gravity suddenly went to 10 times normal. The crew was crushed against the floor, their bones breaking under the pressure. On the cruiser Swift, the environmental systems went haywire. The temperature rose to levels that cooked the crew alive in minutes. On the flagship Invincible, Admiral Gex watched in horror as his fleet began to die. Ship after ship reported catastrophic failures before going silent. What is happening? He shouted. What are they doing to us? There was no answer. His own ship's systems began to fail. The lights flickered. Strange noises came from the walls. Sir, his second-in-command said, voice shaking with fear. They're inside our ship. Impossible, Gex said. They can't board us without us knowing. Not people, the officer said. Something else. Something small. The tactical display showed 5 of his ships already dead in space, then 10, then 20. In 17 minutes, the entire Alteran fleet was destroyed or disabled. Not a single human ship had fired a conventional weapon. As Balerion approached Velith Prime, Lisa opened a channel to the colony. This is Admiral Lisa Jones, of Earth Fleet. Evacuate your population centers immediately. You have 6 hours. The people of Velith Prime ran in panic to the spaceports. They grabbed what they could carry and left the rest behind. The Alteran government had sent every available ship to help with the evacuation, but there weren't enough. Not nearly enough. Governor Lack stood in his office watching the chaos on the screens. His aides had begged him to leave on the first ships, but he had refused. I will be the last to go, he had told them. If anyone must be left behind, it will be me. Now he looked at the clock. 4 hours had passed. 2 remained. An aide rushed in. Governor, we've evacuated about 900,000 so far. The ships are coming back for more, but we need more time, Lack said. He turned to his communications officer. Contact the human ships again. After a few moments, Admiral Lisa Jones appeared on the screen. Her face showed no emotion. Governor Lax, I assume you're calling to inform me that your evacuation is complete. We need more time, Lax pleaded. Please, we have children, elderly. We can't move them all in 6 hours. Lisa was silent for a moment. You had no problem killing our children 3 days ago. You gave our colonies no warning at all. That wasn't my decision, Lax said. I'm just a governor, not military. Please, we had nothing to do with the attack on your colonies. And yet, you benefit from the resources the hegemony steals, Lisa said. Her voice was cold. I will give you 2 more hours. After that, we will fire regardless of who remains. The screen went dark. Lax turned to his staff. 8 hours total. We need to move faster. On board Balerion, Frank approached Lisa after the call ended. 2 more hours? It won't matter, Lisa said. They still can't evacuate everyone in time, but I want the galaxy to see that we gave them a chance. More than they gave us. Frank nodded. The planet killer is ready. Vermithor, Cyrax, and Caraxes are in position around the planet. Melees, Sea Smoke, and Dreamfire are watching for any Alteran reinforcements. Good. Lisa looked at the planet, on the main screen. It was beautiful, with blue oceans and green land. Soon, it would be gone. Begin the final countdown. 8 hours from our first warning. The next 2 hours passed in a blur of activity on Velith Prime. Ships came and went, packed beyond safe capacity with terrified civilians. Priority was given to children and their parents, but it wasn't enough. Millions remained as the deadline approached. Governor Lax made one final call to Balerion. "Please," he begged. "We've evacuated 1.8 million. We still have over 1 million people here. Just a few more days." Lisa's face remained impassive. "Your time is up, Governor. The hegemony made its choice when it attacked our colonies without warning. Then I stay with my people," Lax said. He straightened his back and tried to look dignified in his final moments. Lisa actually seemed to respect that. "Goodbye, Governor." The screen went dark. She turned to Frank. "Begin the firing sequence." On the bridge of Balerion, Gary opened a secure channel to the other 6 ships. "This is Balerion. Planet killer activation in 3 minutes. All ships confirm readiness." One by one, the other ships responded. "Vermithor ready. Cyrax ready. Caraxes ready. Melee's ready. Sea Smoke ready. Dreamfire ready." Gary looked at Lisa. "All ships report ready, Admiral." Lisa nodded once. "Fire." From each of the 7 ships, a beam of strange, dark energy shot out. The beams met in space, forming a ball of what looked like black fire. The ball grew larger and larger, feeding on the energy from the ships. "Planet killer at 20%, Gary reported. On Velith Prime, people watched in horror as the sky turned dark. The strange black sphere grew above them, blocking out the sun. 40%, Governor Lax walked outside his building. He looked up at the black sphere and felt a strange calm. At least it would be quick. 60%, the last evacuation ships raced to escape the planet's gravity. Most made it, some didn't. 80%. The black sphere began to pulse like a heartbeat. "Planet killer at full power," Gary said. "Ready to release." Lisa took a deep breath. This was the moment that would change everything. After this, the galaxy would never see humans the same way again. "Release." The black sphere shot down toward Velith Prime. When it hit the atmosphere, it expanded rapidly. It didn't explode like a bomb. Instead, it seemed to eat the planet from the outside in. Where it touched, matter simply ceased to exist. In less than 5 minutes, Velith Prime was gone. Where a planet had been, there was now only a cloud of dust and a scattering of small asteroids. The 7 dragon ships moved away from the destruction they had caused. Their next target was already programmed into their navigation systems: Corva, another major Alteran colony. As they traveled, Carol monitored the hegemony communications. "Sir, there's chaos. Every hegemony world is panicking. They're trying to gather their military forces, but they're scattered across too many systems." "Good," Lisa said. "Fear is spreading. That's what we want." 20 hours later, the dragon ships reached Corva. The pattern repeated. Lisa gave them 8 hours to evacuate. They managed to get almost everyone off the planet this time. Only about 50,000 remained when the planet killer activated. 3 days after that, they reached Draxus, a smaller Alteran colony. This time the planet was completely evacuated before they arrived. The dragon ships destroyed it anyway. Back on Earth, the president watched the reports coming in with a mix of horror and satisfaction. The Alteran hegemony was in complete disarray. 3 of their worlds were gone. Millions of their people were dead. And the 7 dragon ships continued their inexorable advance toward the hegemony homeworld. General Kevin Russell stood beside the president in the Situation Room. "The Alterans have sent 6 messages requesting peace talks in the last 12 hours, he reported. President Edward Hunt nodded slowly. "They're scared." "As they should be," Kevin said. 3 planets destroyed. Their home fleet wiped out. They know they can't stop the dragons. "And the public?" Edward asked. "How are they taking it?" Kevin hesitated. "Mixed reactions. Many support the retaliation. Others are concerned about the level of destruction, the death toll." Edward understood. He had authorized the mission, but the reality of it still hit him hard. Millions dead. Entire worlds erased from existence. "Tell Admiral Jones to accept the next peace request. Have her set the meeting at Proxima Station, neutral ground." Kevin sent the orders. A few hours later, he received confirmation that Lisa had arranged the meeting. The supreme leader of the hegemony himself would attend. Good, Edward said when Kevin told him. I'll go myself. Sir, that's too dangerous, Kevin protested. Edward shook his head. The Alterans need to see that we're not afraid of them, and I need to look in their eyes when I tell them what happens if they ever attack us again. The meeting was set for 2 days later. While they waited, the 7 dragon ships continued their advance toward the Alteran homeworld, Zelthus. They were now only 4 days away. On the day of the meeting, President Edward Hunt arrived at Proxima Station with a small security team and his chief diplomat. The station was owned by the Proxima species, a neutral race known for their fairness. It was the perfect place for peace talks. The Alteran delegation was already there, led by 3 months after the peace treaty was signed. Lieutenant Samantha Green stood at Arlington National Cemetery. She placed white lilies on the memorial for the 30,000 colonists who had died in the Alteran attack. The large stone monument listed every name, including her cousin Pete and his family. The day was clear and cool. Other people moved quietly among the memorials, paying their respects. Some were families of the dead. Others were just citizens who came to remember. Samantha heard footsteps behind her. She turned to see Dr. Olivia Peters walking toward her. The scientist wore a simple black dress instead of her usual lab coat. I thought I might find you here today, Olivia said. Samantha nodded. 3 months to the day. They stood in silence, for a moment, looking at the monument. The names seemed endless. Does it feel like justice? Olivia finally asked. Samantha considered the question. She had not been part of Project Dragonfire. She had never gone to space during the short, brutal war. Instead, she had helped coordinate the response from Earth, watching as humanity revealed its true power to the galaxy. Not justice, she said at last. Necessity. Olivia seemed to understand. The dragons are being recalled. All 7 ships will return to the facility next week. Decommissioned? Samantha asked. No, Olivia corrected her. Just hibernating. They'll wake again if needed. They began to walk together along the path that wound through the cemetery. The president is under pressure to reveal the full extent of our military capabilities, Olivia said. Many in Congress think hiding our strength is what led to the attack. And what do you think? Samantha asked. I think fear works both ways, Olivia said. The Alterans attacked because they didn't fear us enough. Now they fear us too much. Neither is good for lasting peace. Samantha had to agree. Reports from Alteran space described a society in panic. Their economy was in ruins. Refugees from the destroyed worlds overwhelmed their remaining colonies. And always there was the fear that the dragons might return. I've been assigned to a new project, Samantha said, changing the subject. We're rebuilding the colonies. Olivia looked surprised. So soon? The president thinks it's important to show we won't be scared away. The new colonies will have better defenses, of course. Of course, Olivia said with a small smile. I'm sure the Alterans will notice that. They reached the top of a small hill. From there, they could see the Washington Monument in the distance, and beyond it, the construction site where the new Peace Center was being built. Representatives from 20 alien species would have offices there, working together to prevent another war. What about you? Samantha asked. Back to the lab? Olivia shook her head. No. I've seen enough of what my work can do. She pulled a small envelope from her pocket. I've been offered a teaching position at MIT. Physics for the next generation. You're leaving the military? I'm choosing a different path, Olivia said. Someone needs to teach our children that just because we can build planet killers doesn't mean we should. Samantha respected that decision. Not everyone could live with the knowledge of what humanity had done, even if it was necessary. They walked back toward the parking area in companionable silence. As they reached their cars, Olivia paused. There's something you should know, she said. Project Dragonfire wasn't our only secret. Samantha raised an eyebrow. Oh? The 7 ships we sent against the Alterans? They were our oldest models, almost 10 years old. The implication was clear. If those were the old models, what else did humanity have hidden away? How many? Samantha asked quietly. Olivia just smiled sadly and got into her car. Some secrets were still too dangerous to share, even between friends. Later that week, President Edward Hunt stood on the deck of a new ship. It was the first of the colony vessels that would take settlers back to the worlds the Alterans had attacked. The ship was named Phoenix, a symbol of humanity's refusal to stay down. Today, we take our first step back into the stars, Edward said to the gathered crowd. Cameras broadcast his words to billions of people on Earth and beyond. We go not in fear, but in strength, not for conquest, but for exploration and discovery. Rested his hand on the ship's hull. It was painted with an image of a dragon, not threatening but protective, a reminder of what guarded humanity's interests in the stars. The attack on our colonies was meant to push us back, to make us afraid. Instead, it revealed our true nature to the galaxy. Edward's voice grew stronger. We are not easily broken. We do not abandon our own, and we do not forget those who harm us, the crowd cheered. The speech was being translated and broadcast to every known species, including the Alterans. The message was clear to all who heard it. In her office at the Pentagon, Admiral Lisa Jones watched the broadcast. Her role in the war remained classified. To the public, she was just another naval officer. Only a few knew she had commanded the mission that destroyed 3 planets. Her aide entered with a tablet. The final report on the Dragon ships, Admiral. Lisa took it and scanned the contents. All 7 vessels had returned to Earth in perfect condition. They would be placed back in their underground berths, waiting for the day they might be needed. Again. And the crews, she asked. Colonel Martinez and the others have been debriefed. They'll return to cryosleep next month. Lisa nodded. Frank and his people had done their job perfectly. They had been selected for their ability to make the hard choices, to do what needed to be done without hesitation or regret. The kind of people who could destroy a world and sleep soundly afterward. There's one more thing, the aide said. Intelligence reports the Alterans are spreading the story that we have hundreds of dragon ships hidden throughout human space. Lisa smiled slightly. Are we doing anything to correct that misunderstanding? No, ma'am. The president thinks it's better to let them believe it. He's right, Lisa said. Fear was a powerful deterrent. Let the Alterans, and every other species, watching, believe that humanity had an armada of planet killers just waiting to be unleashed. On the colony ship Phoenix, the first wave of settlers prepared for departure. Among them was Paul Clark, former officer on New Haven Colony. He had been off-world during the attack, the only survivor from the colony's control center. Now he was going back to help build something new from the ashes. Are you sure about this? His friend asked as they stood in their quarters. After what happened? Paul looked at the small photo he carried. The New Haven team, including Commander Alan Wright. All dead now. I'm sure, he said. We need to show them we're not afraid. The ship's engines hummed as they prepared for launch. In space, an escort of military vessels waited to accompany them to their destination. The ships were new designs, their weapons clearly visible on their hulls. No more hiding humanity's strength. As the Phoenix lifted off, news channels around the world reported on another development. Earth had opened registration for new colony missions. Despite the recent attack, more people had volunteered than ever before. Humanity was not retreating from the stars. It was pushing forward with new determination. In the far reaches of space, the Alteran Supreme Leader Mach received the reports with growing concern. Human ships were appearing in systems where they had never been seen before. Their new military vessels made no attempt to hide their capabilities, and the stories of the dragons spread, growing with each telling. We made a terrible mistake, Mach told his advisors. We thought they were prey and we learned they are predators. One of his military commanders spoke up. Perhaps in time when they have forgotten. No, Mach interrupted. They will never forget. And we must never forget what they are capable of. He looked at the images of the human ships. We will honor the treaty, not just the words, but the spirit. Humanity has earned our respect and our fear. Back on Earth, as evening fell on Arlington Cemetery, Samantha returned alone. She stood before the memorial as stars began to appear in the darkening sky. We showed them who we are, she whispered to the names on the stone. They won't forget. Above her, a shooting star crossed the sky. Not a star at all, but the Phoenix, beginning its journey to rebuild what had been destroyed. On its hull, the dragon emblem caught the last rays of the setting sun, a warning to any who might see it. Humanity had revealed its teeth to the galaxy. They would never again be mistaken for prey.